Hey everybody, it is Sister Danger here on Wednesday. And I am filling in for Nathan Brendan Masters, who is going to fill in for Goth at Funk on Sunday. We're having a week of swapping things around, I guess. I wasn't here yesterday because I actually had previously asked to have the next 2 weeks off. My festival is not this weekend, but next weekend, and have been insanely busy preparing for that, which is actually what I'm doing right now. I'm in my garage getting ready to paint my last 2 Jenga blocks while I talk to you guys for my giant Jenga game. There's my giant Jenga right there. And I have 2 last wild card blocks to do. I don't know if I've ever showed you guys what I did for this, but in order to make my Jenga different, I actually wrote instructions on all of the blocks that the players, when they draw them, this is what they have to do, is follow the instructions. And so I actually have 2 extra blocks. I'm going to make them wild cards. Anywho, I hadn't planned to do any videos for the next couple of weeks because I just have so much here to do. But since I can, it just so happened that I can live stream and paint on some stuff. I have fairy coin that I need to make. I have mead bottles that I need to get the labels off of to fill with mead. So I figured I would go ahead and live stream and pick up a blank there where I could. So my paintbrushes are pretty much in terrible shape because I'm bad about taking care of them. But so yesterday, I think I titled this Illegal versus Evil. And this is, as I guess many of my videos often are, based off of a Facebook conversation that I observed and kind of jumped into and then jumped back out of pretty quickly yesterday on a friend's Facebook. And the original question that got me in the conversation, I feel like I don't know. I actually have the screen facing me, so I think that means I can maybe see when people say something. I don't know. I don't know if that means I can see when people say something or not. Well, whatever the case. They had posted the question, for public consumption, if you will, of would you rather do something illegal or something evil? And I probably should have known better than to jump into this conversation, but my answer was that I would rather do something evil than illegal, because doing something that's illegal is always making the conscious decision to break the social contract that we are all a part of by virtue of living wherever it is that we're living. So it doesn't really matter what country you're in, etc. The place that you're living has laws and rules. And part of being a part of that society is that we agree to obey those laws and rules in order to gain the benefits of living in that place, whatever those may be. And whenever and it doesn't really matter. I felt like some of the people in this conversation were really confused between the difference between morals and ethics, because some people were using these words interchangeably. My paintbrushes. Oh, I can see the comments. I see your comment, Merely. Ooh, gross. Can you guys see that? That's what happens. I don't take care of my paintbrushes. I thought I had a garbage in here. I don't know what I did with it. That's it right there. Okay. Oh, gross. Okay. So anyway, because it's always unethical to break the law. It might be moral to break the law. You might be choosing to do something. I think this is one of the great questions of Les Miserables. Man, I'm going to paint everywhere. Oh my God. Les Miserables, right? The whole Jean Valjean question. Is it okay to steal bread in order to save someone from starving, right? And so most people would weigh one of those situations as more dire and necessary than the other. Therefore, or thereby, I guess I should say, alleviating the guilt of one, right? Because it's obviously more important to try to save a life than to spare a loaf of bread. We definitely value those things differently in society, right? But in the pure ethics of the situation, right, they're both against the law. So breaking the law is always going against the social contract. It is always an unethical thing to do. And so I chose evil, because evil is not always an unethical thing to do, because evil is not in any way, shape, or form defined, right? 40 years ago, gays were evil. In fact, in some people's minds, they still are. And trans people were evil. And, all kinds of things. Black people were evil. Whatever people didn't like, whatever people don't currently like, is evil, right? The very word, pagans are evil, atheists are evil, whatever people don't like. And the word is meaningless, right? So I would rather, if I was going to have to choose sort of between these two bad options, right? I would rather go with the option that at least has the potential of sometimes being both the ethical choice and the moral choice, as opposed to always being unethical and sometimes being moral and sometimes being immoral, right? So that was my answer to this question. Well, that was when I found out that this wasn't even really the question that this person was trying to ask, which was unfortunate, because I actually found the conversation about evil versus illegal sort of fascinating. But once I answered, I got the response back of, well, do you agree with locking children up in cages? Like, what? So I can only assume, because I was out of town all weekend filming for the web series that I've been in, and I don't know if I missed something over the weekend or if it's just the general state of affairs with what's been going on with ICE, which I don't agree with. And I read an interesting thing today. It's very real what's happening, that these agents roll up in paddy wagons, essentially, and if they find their person and they just put them in the wagon and they take them away. And because if that person can't prove right then and there, excuse me, my nose is running, they can't prove right then and there that they are a citizen, then they're taken. That's the only thing that can stop that course of action, is for them to be able to prove right then and there. So it really is a bad situation, and I find very, very disconcerting. I don't know, these things aren't happening all in a vacuum from one another, all the stuff with Putin and Kim Jong-il or Un or whatever, the young little fat man, excuse me while I blow my nose. Can never keep him straight. I don't know. When Donald Trump took over as president, my dad said, the same thing happened when Obama became the president, that the Republicans just went, berserker crazy, and all they did was gripe about it and gripe about it and gripe about it. And the same thing happened when Clinton was president and when Reagan was president. Every time there's a president, the opposite party gripes about it and everything is, the opposite party, everything is just a terrible item, and that's how it is going to go for the next 4 to 8 years, depending on whether or not they get reelected. So don't freak out, which I pretty much thought, I guess that's true. So, I thought, we're just going to have, 4 more years of a crappy president, right? So I don't know. I'm not feeling that ambivalent about it anymore. And well, I wasn't feeling that ambivalent about it to begin with, so I just didn't say very much because so as it turned out, though, the real question that was being asked here, evil versus illegals or whatever, that wasn't the real question at all. The real question was, are you okay with locking up little kids? And if you are, get off my Facebook friends list, right? And I'm thinking to myself, who on earth is? I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe some evil people are or something. There's that word, evil people. I guess I found this sort of bait and switch. It's this tactic, right? I don't think that, your average person is okay with locking up kids, per se. Oh, what? How did I get all that blue on there? Damn it. Alright, well, whatever. So, I don't think your average person is okay with that, but it's this sort of bait and switch, this false equivalency, right? If you choose illegal or evil over illegal, that means that you are okay with it. Or if you don't stand up and scream as vehemently as everyone else, then obviously you're okay with it. And this kind of this kind of attitude coming out of people is what has made me just screw it, for politics lately. So, I mean, how is anybody supposed to converse with that, And when I tried to, I wrote my reply to explain where I was coming from. I get this response of, well, I'm glad you think that it's okay to philosophize about locking up children. What are you even talking about, right? I mean, maybe I missed a news article or something where something has happened, and if I did, then I'm sorry, but you didn't post any frame of reference for asking the question. How am I supposed to know that you're talking about something specific if you are? But this whole, I'm glad you think it's okay to philosophize about this, that you think it's okay to do blood. I never said that I think that it's okay to do anything of the sort, right? And, this smells like alcohol. Well, it's because it's a bottle of mead. It's actually empty. These are stoneware, and so I get them from the pub that I go to, and I take the labels off them, and I use them for my festival for things. And so I have a whole bunch that I need to delabelize here, but these ones have not been washed yet. So there's that. But this kind of, making fun of me for thinking about, and trying to rationalize and defend my own position, right? Here's what I would decide in this situation. Here's why I would decide it. And then to just casually deride that and write it off as something that it isn't at all. I mean, I find that disconcerting, right? Because it's this polarizing and this oversimplifying of all thought that if I dare to think about something more deeply, then I'm obviously not taking it seriously. I mean, maybe I've got it backwards, but I thought it was the other way around, right? I thought that, you know, when you're able to really articulate why you think the things you think and have a discussion about that, that's when you are thinking about something seriously and with gravitas. Not, I just, I was so, I shouldn't have been, because that's how things have just been getting more and more. You know, people are only polarized, and if you do not immediately jump on whatever hate wagon they're on, then you're obviously of the enemy. And it's frightening, right? It's really frightening. It's this mentality, this inability or unwillingness, whichever one it is, to even. I mean, I wasn't even answering a question about children in cages. I was answering a question about evil versus illegal, right? Only to have that swapped out. And, oh, well, that must mean this then. Like, what do you... I don't know. I will say, though, that... so I read this interesting thing on a completely different place. I was watching a different discussion about what's going on with the kids being separated from their parents, you know, because you kind of have the right wing is out there going, oh, this is, you know, these policies have been in effect since Obama and his administration, and why didn't the Democrats care about kids being separated back then? And I saw somebody comment on this, and of course it was this morning, and so, oh my God, this is a pain in the butt. Whew. Hey, Green, what's going on? And what they had said was that, so I haven't really researched this, and if anybody knows more about it, then I, of course, am all ears. That, I guess, thank God this is stoneware. I'm using Goo Gone, but my God, it's still like, what a pain. I don't know, you guys can't really see what I'm doing. Here, I'll try to show you. I don't know. There. So I'm trying to scrape the label off this bottle is basically what I'm doing. Anyway, they said that while the policy was in place during the Obama administration, the difference is how it is being enforced. And so I guess that previously, when people were being picked up as illegals, right, they were being handled through immigrations. And so the difference now is that instead of being handled through immigrations, that they are being prosecuted criminally. And that's why we're seeing this activity of rolling around, collecting them, and throwing them in these detention centers. And then a friend of mine who knows, we'll just say, quite a lot more about the law, I was talking to them about it, and I wonder if this is working. I wonder if there's a better way to do this. I mean, now I've got the main label off, but how do you get the last bits of that crap? They were telling me that there's nothing that can be done because as illegal immigrants in a foreign country, they don't have any rights. So it is okay, at least from the perspective of the law, which is not to say that that is in alignment with, you know, the perspective of human rights, I suppose. But, you know, by law, they can be held indefinitely in detention, and they, you know, they don't have to have any time frame on which their case moves, etc., etc. And I find that really disturbing, right? I mean, we can just hold people indefinitely in what is effectively jail, that's not okay. You know, we can't do that to citizens. We certainly can't do that to citizens of other countries that are here legally. So I guess, though, I found that interesting, that was what the difference was, is that even though the policies have been in place since the Obama administration, how the Obama